welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. Here's what's coming up on the program right now. Industrial action by organized labor has been suspended for a week as the federal government continues negotiation with the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. Suspended bandits killed Monarch in his residence in Gidan Usmanu village of Karim Lamido local government area of Taraba State. And in preparation for the November governorship election in Ondo State, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, meets with the heads of security agencies to fine-tune security management ahead of the polls. Thanks again for joining us on the program. Let's begin with the latest update as far as the industrial action by labor union is concerned. And this is a breaking news that organized labor has suspended their strike over a wage dispute barely 24 hours after it commenced, although they are back on the negotiation table with the government. No details has been provided yet, and the suspension is for a week. Late last night, the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress were invited for a meeting by the federal government chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, where some resolutions were reached, including committing to an upward review of the proposed 60,000 naira as new minimum wage. The negotiation continues today. So the latest update as far as this story is concerned is that Labour has gotten back to its organs and has decided to suspend the strike that started yesterday for about 1 week, pending all the negotiation that will be going on with the federal government. But let's take a listen to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation as at yesterday, what he said in that meeting late last night.
Exhaustive deliberations and engagement by both parties, the following resolutions were reached. The President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, is committed to a national minimum wage that is higher than 60,000. Arising from the above, the tripartite committee is to meet every day for the next 1 week, with a view to arriving at an agreeable national minimum wage. Labour, in deference to the high esteem of the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, is committed in paragraph 3 sub 2 above, and takes to convene a meeting of its organs immediately to consider this commitment. And for no worker will be victimized as a result of the industrial action. Down in Abuja on the 3rd of June, 2024. And this document is signed for the federal government by the Minister of Information and National Orientation and the Honorable Minister of State for Labor and Employment. For the organized labor, President, Nigeria Labour Congress, President, Trade Union Congress. Let me reassure Nigerians that we have had a very realistic and patriotic meeting, and the results will be very, very manifest soon. Thank you very much.
So that was actually the outcome of yesterday's meeting. The federal government has made some commitment, which was, one of the commitments was the 60,000 naira will not stay there. We're going to move above 60,000. We don't know what is going to be the number, 62, 65, 100. We don't know. But federal government said they will do better than 60. And has told Labour, we will not victimize anybody who went on this strike, and whatever action has been taken. In good faith, talk to your organs. The president has committed to this. And they had a meeting, which is the result of this breaking news we just got, that Labour, organized Labour, made up of the NLC and the TUC, have now officially suspended their strike for 1 week. So that's the latest as far as that strike action is concerned. So as soon as we get more details about this particular new communication from the labor unions, we'll let you know. But for now, a chief of Gideon Usman village in Lamido local government area has been killed by suspected bandits in Taraba State. The bandits are reported to have come in their numbers on motorcycles and operated within a few minutes before leaving. The acting public relations officer in Taraba State of the police, Mr. Kwache Gambo, also confirmed the incident and says deployment to the area have been made and investigations have been launched about the incident. In the meantime, the commander 6th Brigade Sector 3 Operation Wellstroke, Brigadier General Kingsley Uwa, has conducted an operational visit to the remote areas in Lao and Karim Lamido local government councils to reassure the people of the troops' resolve to securing citizens. Let's now talk election management. In about 5 months, the people of Ondo State will be heading out to the polls to decide who leads them as governor. And all hands are now on deck to ensure a successful election. Perhaps it's why a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security in Akure was held. The Commissioner of Police, Mr. Abayomi Oladipo, is promising that meeting that adequate deployment of security personnel for the exercise will be ensured. Meanwhile, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is seeking adequate mobilization of residents to register and collect over 200,000 uncollected permanent voter cards in the state.
Of security personnel.
It's 5 months to the November governorship election in Ondo State, and the INEC chairman leads an entourage from the commission to a meeting with members of the Interagency Consultative Committee for Election Security. Top on the agenda is the presentation of the security situation in the state by the State Police Commissioner.
At the moment, we don't seem to have challenges as it relates to election, apart from the usual crimes that are being committed and are localized to the various senatorial districts. On the side of the police, we realize that we cannot do it alone, and that is why we have the support of every security agencies and members of ISEC in the state, that we move together as a team to tackle budding election crises.
On his part, the INEC chairman underscores the importance of collaboration among the various security agencies. He also appeals to stakeholders to mobilize residents for the ongoing continuous voter registration for the collection of the over 200,000 uncollected voters' cards across the state.
I want to assure registered voters in Ondo State that they should continue to troop out in their numbers to register and come out and collect their PVCs from the current registration. But we also have literally over 200,000 cards uncollected from the last exercise. So we encourage people to come and collect their PVCs so that they can cast their votes to whoever they wish to vote for on election day. Before I conclude, let me say what I've said consistently, that INEC is not we don't have a candidate in the Ondo governorship election. The choice of who becomes the next governor of Ondo State is entirely in the hands of voters in Ondo State, and will protect their choices and will protect the integrity of the process.
At the end of the meeting, the INEC chairman inspects some voter registration centers in the state capital. There are currently over 20,000 new registered voters in Ondo State. This is in addition to the over 1.5 million voter cards collected in the state during the 2023 general elections.
Let's also tell you that former governor of Ogun State and senator representing Ogun is Senator Benga Daniel is appealing to Nigerians to be patient with the Tinubu-led government amidst the current economic challenges, which has triggered the industrial action, by the way, which has now been suspended. The senator made the appeal when he paid a visit to Channels Television corporate headquarters in Lagos, where he also delved into the debate on whether or not to return Nigeria to regional government. Is promising to vote in support of the bill if it were to be presented before the Senate.
Whether we all like to believe it or not, the level of security has marginally improved since the advent of this administration. In terms of the purchasing power of the Naira, that has not done well. But of course, this is expectedly in exchange for what we can call an inflow of investments, which also should reflect and regenerate the economy. My own opinion is that that cannot be an easy fix, and Nigerians are looking for easy fixes. So I'm still going to appeal to our people that we can't make eggs, or we can't make omelets without breaking eggs. So the process we are right now is process of, breaking eggs, a little bit of deprivation, if you put it that way, and then the tomorrow will definitely be better. The creation of those 6 geopolitical zones is one of the brilliant things that the military have done. There's nothing really wrong in those states with the same kind of affinity coming together to fight a common cause. So to that extent, I have no issues whatsoever. And I think if it comes to the floor of the Senate, I'll be one of the supporters of the concept of regional governments.
Okay, the view of Senator Gbenga Daniel about regional government, there was a time it was literally on the social media, but we're going to delve into a couple of things today. But first, we will talk about the issue of the NLC and the federal government, the organized labor, we should say. I'm being joined on the program by public affairs analyst, Mr. Larry Banjo. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Mr. Banjo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. How are you?
Very well. So before we delve into some other issues of national interest, the biggest one right now is the fact that Labour has decided to suspend their strike, which they started yesterday for about a week, pending the negotiation. Government says we'll keep meeting with you for the next 1 week. Let's fine-tune this thing. Over 60,000, about 60,000 is the current amount that's been proposed. They say they can do better. I just needed your first reaction because this story just breaking.
Well, I thank both parties for their maturities because we don't want, the government has already imposed untold hardship on the citizens of this country. And we don't want Labour to complicate that out because they must always fight for the rights of their workers. So if they are finding a middle way to meet, that's a good, I will applaud that.
So before we leave off the issue of Labour, because it's the biggest talking point, there were a couple of things. It doesn't mean that it is over. This is just, will you say goodwill? We came to a meeting, we have an understanding. Let's also show you that we're serious. This is from the Labour end, so let's suspend the strike for a bit. But there are other complicated issues, the variables that are being considered. They say if we pay Labour, people are saying if Labour is being paid what they're asking for, the economy will cripple. The government is saying, I want to pay you what is affordable and sustainable. Labour is saying you can pay this money because this is reflecting economic reality based on inflationary pressure. How do you think they will navigate this part? 1 week looks like a long time, but in 1 week it's going to be over. And then we don't want to go back to this conversation again.
Well, I am surprised that the Labour is not addressing these issues properly. Asking for ridiculous amount as minimum wage, to me, is not it. I'm wondering why Labour is not asking the government, why are you not fixing our refineries? That's the crux of this matter. When the president came in, without necessary analysis, he just said subsidies is removed because IMF wanted the subsidy removed. I mean, if the government has thought through, if the government has realized that fuel is the life wire of any economy in the whole world. He wouldn't have said subsidies is gone. And then when you look at the subsidies removal, what is subsidies? Government is saying this thing will have cost more, but for my own citizens, we are going to give you a certain amount of money to reduce the price. Government gave some people this money. They didn't give it to me, and you have the nerve to be punishing me? That is wrong. Let's tell the president that. It is wrong. I'm not saying if people are stealing, they should not be dealt with them. But deal with the people who are stealing this money. Now, you leave them alone. They are pleasing their fancies. You impose hardship on the citizens of this country, and you continue to subsidize the rich people who are pouring pepper into our
How do you mean it's subsidizing the rich people? Maybe let's so that we can get your drift.
It's simple. If Dangote is bringing anything into this country today, he will not pay the same import duty like you and I will pay. That's subsidizing them. Look at the land given to Dangote in Lagos for the fuel. That's subsidy. The rate of exchange...
I'm sure he paid for those lands. I'm not sure those lands
No,
are free.
no. Yeah, check it out.
All right.
The rate of exchange that Dangote is giving is different from... And it's not only Dangote, it's the one that comes to my head now. So these people, all those who are getting subsidies, who are paid subsidies to give to me, to you, and me, and him, that refuse to do, they need to face the music.
So since we have gone back to the issue of subsidy, which is a conversation that is a developing conversation.
Yes.
Every candidate in that election last year had said they will remove subsidy. Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, Bola Tinubu is now the president. I think the only person we didn't hear any statement from, to the best of my knowledge, is Rabiu Kwankwaso. So right now we're in this mix. So was it an issue of removing subsidy or how it was managed? What is the challenge for you?
How it was managed. And the reason why Obi, Atiku would do is because they've all gone to Chatham House, they've all met with the State Department, and they are not governing those countries. Nigerians should stand up and say, if you want to rule us, if you go to Chatham House, you go to State Department, we will not elect you. I'm hoping that Nigerians will understand that when they go to these meetings, that is when they make the deals for them. And making deals with devil means death.
Are you suggesting that our leaders go to the global north to continue to impoverish? Is that what you're suggesting?
I am not suggesting, I'm saying it. I am saying it. Listen, I had contested to be the governor of Ogun State 3 times under Chief Gani Fawemi party. They invited Chief Gani Fawemi, he said, no, I'm not coming. Second time they invited him, he said, bring the tea to Ondo. Finally, they sent some Secretary of State to him. Can we send anybody to Bush? Can we send anybody to Trump? Can we send anybody to the president because he's contesting to be the president of their country? Can Nigerians do that? Can any African countries do that?
So we're in this situation right now. We're looking for a way forward. One of the things we found out is that when it comes to fiscal management or management of our resources, there's a lot of focus on the federal government. We also need to speak to the state governors as well, and which is where I want you to speak to them. Recently, the AGF has taken the states to court based on a couple of issues. First, he said, allow these local governments to be autonomous. Let's credit their account directly, not in that joint account as in 162 of the Constitution. That's on one hand. Section 7 of the Constitution clearly establishes local government authority, but it didn't give a time span as to whether you conduct election every 2 to 3 years. The government is saying, allow local government to run just like another tier of government. But we haven't heard so much. The Supreme Court is still waiting on the government to come and make their defense. I want to have your take on that particular issue. Some are saying the move, in certain aspects, it looks like we're trying to be unilateral again. Others are saying it's good for independence. So where do you stand?
My stand, I agree. As someone who had been in government outside Nigeria, as someone who knows how democracy is supposed to work, I agree that local government in Nigeria should be autonomous. I disagree totally with the AGF, who suggested that INEC should be conducting state elections. That is asking us to go back to unitary system of government again, which we are blaming.
But the argument of the AGF and the watching populace is the fact that when you look at the way states conduct their exercise, Gombe State conducted an election, all won by the APC. I think Oyo State conducted, all won by the PDP. And most of the state's House of Assembly are the appendages of the state governor. So which is why federal government is feeling maybe we can bring a bit more transparency by INEC conducting election. Does it make sense to you?
That's cutting people's head because of headache. Remove the immunity of governors. No governor will dare tell somebody to go and steal ballot boxes once you remove that immunity. So that is very, very important. You remove the immunity, you make the laws and ensure that there will be an enforcement if any state, local government officials violate the law. But without removing the criminal immunity now, governors, president must have civil immunity. But criminal immunity, you have to understand what is democracy. I know you and I cannot be governors at the same time. And I'm seizing my right through my finger to you to go and be governor. And then I'm giving you the opportunity to say, or the power to say, if you kill me, nobody can do anything until after 4 years. No. That's what they need to do. Remove the criminal immunity. Let's think about it this way. For those of us who have contested before, when resident electoral commissioners report to the state, who do they go to? Governor. The deal can be made at that particular time. Hey, I want these people, well, maybe let's give them 2 in certain local government and the rest to us. That's what will happen. And I'll give you another example again. When I contested, I was attacked in Ijebu-Ode. Otunba Gbenga Daniel was on his way out. He phoned me and said to me, what happened? Don't you have police? I said, the commissioner of police now. No, I'm sorry, the IG gave me a letter, approved police and orderly for me. That letter, a copy of the letter was sent to the commissioner of police in Ogun State. When I now approached him with the chairman of my party, he refused to give it to me because I did not give him money. It took the intervention of Otunba Gbenga Daniel, who phoned him as a sitting governor and said, this man is entitled to it. And he said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. By the time I get to Shagamu, I got it. So, you see, somebody will say, let INEC conduct elections.
Well, those allegations, I'm sure it's your own experience. But in beginning to wind down, we're looking for a way forward at the end of the day. Some are making all sorts of suggestions for us to be able to get out. Because the biggest problem we have now at the top of people's mind is the economy. With your experience, you wanted to be governor, so I'm sure that you understand the economic dynamics of how macroeconomic works at the end of the day. So what do you suggest is the way out of this quagmire? The federal government is saying, with a little bit more patience, we'll see that the pain is temporary.
I have never heard the federal government talk about our refineries. The only time they spoke about it was when the labor agitated and they wanted to strike the first time. Hey, Port Harcourt refinery will be ready by December. This is May.
This is June, actually.
Oh, June, I'm sorry. This is June. So I'm telling you, what we need to do is to pressure the government, first of all, to stop listening to the IMF, to work on our refineries. And I'll give you another good example. During the war, as the war was about to complete, the British government said, these people fought this war without borrowing a penny. So what we would do is to devalue our money. And Shivawalawa said, let's do a research. When they do the research indicated that if the British pound sterling was devalued, we don't need to devalue our own currency. And Shivawalawa wrote to the commissioner of the British High Commissioner here. They said, no, we don't want to decrease, we don't want to devalue your money. After a while, the British gave us the instruction to devalue our money. And Shivawalawa told them, no, we are not going to devalue our money. That is when we have people with senses in government.
All right, I must thank you so much, Mr. Larry Banjo, politician, public affairs analyst. Are you going to run for governor again someday?
No, when I run, if you have 10 cars, they will still salute you. Now, your cars must be going from Isheri to Shagamu.
Larry Banjo, public affairs analyst and politician, weighing in on some national issues. Thank you so much for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you. God bless you, Godfrey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just before we go, we can tell you that Senator Abdul Ningi is back in the Senate. We understand Abdul Ningi was suspended for raising alarm over some padding of the budget, and he was suspended by the Senate that particular day. It was a big issue that made a lot of headlines in the media, but we understand that the senator is back in plenary as it resumed because he was pardoned at some point. But let's also tell you that Vice President Kashim Shettima says the administration of President Bola Tinubu is committed to improving the quality of life of all Nigerians. The Vice President said this at the commissioning of the Outer Southern Expressway expansion project in the Federal Capital Territory, where he represented the president. And of course, let's tell you that organized labor has suspended their strike that kicked off yesterday. They had a meeting with the federal government led by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and other ministers and cabinet members of President Tinubu, and they had some resolution, one of which is the fact that the government says, we will look into that 60,000 and do better. You talk to your organs, let's work on this, continue conversation for about a week, and they talk to their organs, and we've gotten that information now from the TUC and the NLC that the strike has now been suspended for 1 week, pending what will be the outcome of the back and forth between labor and organized labor and the federal government. So that's on one hand. The other hand, Senator Abdul Ningi is back in the Senate. Well, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, your usual company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics.